So, the substance. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't watch the last 15 to 20 minutes of the movie. You ask why? Because, it's gross. So, like, I get it. My eyes hurt, just make it stop. It's disgusting. I just didn't feel like subjecting my eyes to all that any longer. So this video is gonna be a quasi-review slash ranting slash my general dumb takes sort of a thing. I've written down some points, and I'm gonna go over them, but it's mostly gonna be pretty off the cuff. Obviously, there's gonna be some spoilers, so if you haven't watched the movie, The Substance, I suggest that you go watch it. Or not, and just watch the video. Because it's not like my little video is gonna hurt you any more than the movie will. One caveat though, a lot of my takes, a lot of my rants going forward aren't exactly leveled at the movie itself. The movie itself is a smashing success regardless of my dumb opinions. It's objectively a very successful movie. It's generated tons of internet buzz and it's won tons of awards as far as I know. So it's a critically acclaimed movie. But still, I'm gonna rant. I'm gonna, share some of my dumb takes. And my criticism and my judgment is mainly leveled at not the movie itself, like I said. It's more at the characters, a lot of the characters within the movie. And I'm gonna talk about them as if they were real people. I know you're not supposed to hyper-analyze a movie, a piece of entertainment, a piece of fiction through the hyper-realistic lens of the real world, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So the first thing I'm gonna rant about is the whole premise of the movie. Obviously, the movie deals with this mysterious substance that allows you to spawn basically a new you from your old body. A new, younger version of you just literally grows out of your spine on some alien shit. It's disgusting. And our main character, Elizabeth Sparkle, played by Demi Moore, is like this TV yoga instructor, this aerobic dance instructor, on TV. She's in her 60s. I looked it up. Demi Moore, the actress who played Elizabeth Sparkle, is in her 60s. So let's assume that the character she plays is also in her 60s. I think she's getting a little old for a job like that. Let's just be honest. Her role is supposed to be the eye candy of the whole show. She's supposed to be the sex appeal. And let's just be honest, I'm not trying to be mean or anything. A younger girl is more attractive. The show executives are considering replacing her with a younger model. And if I were in her position, I would just bow out with some grace. Why not give the younger generation a chance? You're not gonna live forever. Nobody can live forever. Unless you're a vampire in Twilight. Some people might say perhaps it's because of the money. Maybe she depends on her job for the money. But I say no. Didn't you see the huge house she lives in? Assuming she's not in debt, has tons of mortgage to pay for that shit. I would say she's pretty much financially set, so there's no reason for her to. How much money is enough, right? So if money is not a factor, what's left is just ego, it's just a vanity thing. And due to her sheer ego, due to her sheer vanity, she's willing to inject this God knows what substance into her body just because a male nurse in the hospital told her so, that creepy looking nurse. So as soon as she, decides to inject herself with this mysterious substance, this super suspicious substance, my sympathy is already out the window. It's like, why do that to yourself? Sure, your career is hitting a dead end, but that's gonna happen to most everybody. Why not just bow out with some grace? So that's her first dumb decision, to decide to inject that substance. And the second dumb decision is like after her body split into two, after the younger alter ego Sue, as she refers to herself, the younger version of herself refers to herself as Sue, and the older self is Elizabeth. Let's not get confused. It's like the mechanism of the substance is already super fishy, super sus, according to the instructions. It's like you create a younger version of yourself, a younger version of you spawns. But it's not like you get a fresh start, a young fresh start. It's like your older body still exists. And every 7 days you have to switch between the two bodies via injection through a tube and a syringe. The whole procedure is kind of just effed up. And after the first switch back from Sue to Elizabeth, I think she should realize that, it's not like she's living vicariously through this younger self. It's not like the experiences of the two bodies are shared, are felt at the same time. You're pretty much sacrificing half of your life with this younger version, and you don't even get to experience any of that. I would be like, I would put a stop to it immediately after I realized that. Sure, the idea of a younger self, having a younger alter ego, is cool and all, but if you don't get to enjoy any of the benefits of it, then what's the point? Like, even if you get to, let's just say, even if you got to live vicariously through your younger self, are you gonna just live the rest of your life, splitting your life in half between an older version of you and a younger version of you? It's like, what kind of life is that? I don't think most rational people will do it. Hence, a dumb decision. It's like, get out already. And during the next stage of the game, obviously Sue overstays her welcome. She was the one who first breaks the 7 days rule by spending an extra day or two, in her body, thus taking the life force away from the older Elizabeth. And that's how she got that super gross CGI'd finger, all shriveled up and black and gross. And that's another cue for you to get out. It's like, what are you doing? Can't you see this is fucking your life up? Instead of putting an end to all of this, she decided, Elizabeth that is, she decided to find her self-worth through going on this date with one of her Super Simp fans. Introduced in the beginning. The guy who dropped his number in a puddle of mud and fished out a piece of paper and handed it to her instead of just writing her a new one. That Super Simp. And she didn't even go through with it. She didn't even go through with the date. She got all dressed up and had her makeup put on and all that, and eventually she just couldn't do it. I could just hear her inner dialogue. It's like, what the fuck am I doing? What's the point of, prettying myself up for this Super Simp? Moral of the story, a girl would rather destroy herself than go on a date with a Super Simp. I'm gonna be honest, at first I was starting to feel a little sorry for her, when she decided to go on a date with that guy. It's like, it's a moment of vulnerability. She's admitting that her youth is way behind her, that she's not as attractive as she once used to be. And maybe it's a bit of a downgrade to date this guy, but at least she's focusing on, what's important, which is real human connection. I'm not saying that girls should date unattractive guys. I'm just saying that, human connection, like having financial security, those things, those real things, are more important than chasing, attention, chasing more eyeballs on you. But no, she didn't even go through with the date. Instead, what did she do? She decided to, cook. I think it's just hilarious. That whole sequence of her, cooking up a storm in the kitchen and throwing eggs on the window and plastering the glass window with newspapers, so that she wouldn't see the huge billboard with her younger face, on it. All just to spite her younger alter ego, who doesn't even see her at that moment. It's very hard to feel sympathy. It's like you got yourself into this whole mess, and now you're blaming Sue? Like, you're the Matrix. You are the one who's in control. You can put a stop to it at any point. And as a lot of us guessed, Sue decided to push even further stretching her 7-day period allotted time, thus fucking up Elizabeth even more. And from that point on, the whole thing is just a shit show. It becomes a weird competition of outgrossing itself. At that point, I was like, I get it, just make it stop. So that's a pretty shitty summary of the movie from my dumb point of view. Now I'm gonna address the themes of the movie a little bit further. Obviously, one of the main themes deals with aging, deals with the anxiety, the insecurity one feels around aging. It's a very legitimate fear. It's a very legitimate anxiety. Nobody wants to get old. Nobody wants to, admit that their youth is draining away. Getting old can be hard to accept for a lot of people, but it's part of life. It's part of the human experience that nobody can escape from. Nobody is special that they can escape aging. It's like the mature thing to do is that at some point you have to come to terms with it instead of fighting it. with plastic surgery and all kinds of weird stuff that you do to your body. There are tons of examples of real life people trying to, hold the aging process or even reverse the aging process by undergoing surgery. And a lot of them are botched, and their appearance will be forever fucked up, much like Elizabeth in the movie. It's sad, it's tragic, but it's very hard to feel sympathy for those people. It's like you decided to do it to yourself. You decide to fight against nature. What do you think is gonna happen? Like, even if the surgery is successful, it's like, to quote Bill Burr, would you rather be 45 and look 45? Or would you rather be 45 and look like a 28-year-old lizard, Just the vanity of people is so pathetic. Obviously, when it comes to looks insecurity, when it comes to aging anxiety, there's a bit of a gender difference. Girls definitely have more, I would say on the whole, girls definitely have more insecurity and anxiety around their looks. And it is a fact that girls, on average, age faster than guys. And some would say that's a legitimate ground for girls to go a little crazy, in terms of wanting to preserving their looks and preserving their youth. But I would say that's even bullshit. Because the world is unfair, but in a lot of ways, the world is also surprisingly fair. Girls do age faster, but there's the great equalizer, the male thirst. It's like no matter how old you get, no matter how unattractive a girl is, as long as she has some girl game, she's gonna be able to land a man. She's gonna be able to secure some soft landing, in a man, provided that's her deal. And if a girl is extra smart, she can even secure a really, really good landing in a man. Look no further than Demi Moore, the actress who played Elizabeth Sparkle. Like, the actress in her real life is in her 60s. And who is she married to? Ashton Kutcher, a super handsome Hollywood actor in her 40s. Just do the math. Outside of this aging theme, there's also the general human ego, human vanity. That this intense desire of always wanting to get more attention and get more eyeballs on you. That's a very relevant theme in today's, attention economy, in today's social media age. I think wanting attention and having some degree of vanity can be useful. I would even argue that a lot of people lack a little vanity. Some older guys who have already given up on themselves, looks-wise, could use a little vanity and a little ego and put more effort into their looks, Just because you're aging doesn't mean you can't age gracefully. Then there's the other end of the spectrum. People who put way too much emphasis, who spend way too much energy to chase clout, chase attention. If you're making money off of the attention, I get it. But a lot of them aren't. It's like, why? Why sacrifice so many genuinely important things to you just to get a few more likes, It's very hard to feel sympathy for those people. Much like I don't feel any sympathy for Sue or Elizabeth. Now, moving on to a couple of positives I find about the movie. One, stylistically, the movie is very visually striking. Lots of big, bold colors that really grab your attention, really, get you engaged visually. And in terms of the cinematography, in terms of the editing style, there's a lot of close-ups, like the close-ups they did on the executive's mouth when he's eating in the beginning, to emphasize how gross he is, how gross those money-hungry people are. I think that's a very nice touch. Later, when the Sue alter ego is born, they sexualize the fuck out of her by putting tons of close-up on her body, on her curves, on her crotch, and it's a little excessive, it's a little gratuitous, but I guess they're trying to drive home a point. They're trying to, emphasize the difference in terms of attractiveness between the younger Sue and the older Elizabeth. It's like, I get it. Overall, I think it's a good movie. It's just super gross. I definitely wouldn't watch it again. If you're comfortable with the body horror type of movie, then this is probably your cup of tea. But for the majority of people, I would say probably not. Like I said, I think the movie is already pretty critically acclaimed, and it's a success in terms of box office. So it's not like they need more views, which is why I would suggest that most people should probably stay away from this movie and just read a synopsis or something. Or don't listen to me and just watch it. Just remember I warned you. So those are my thoughts. What do you think? If you disagree with any of the stuff that I said, argue with me in the comment section. Otherwise, drop me a like and subscribe so we can agree on more things in the future. Bye bye.